The next thing on your agenda is an update on Colorado River issues. You will see that both Becky Mitchell and Chuck Cullum are listed. Becky is the governor-appointed commissioner to the Upper Colorado River Commission for Colorado. Becky could not be here today. As you can imagine, her schedule's a little tight. But we're fortunate to have Chuck Cullum, who is the executive director for the Upper Colorado River Commission. And I'm sure Chuck is actually very excited that Becky is not here, because Becky is one of Chuck's bosses. So he doesn't have to worry about what he says. He can say what he thinks. And he gets the whole time to himself and doesn't have to share with Becky this time, which he usually does. So, Chuck, thank you very, very much for coming.
Whoa, how's that thing going? All right, well, good morning. My name is Chuck Cullum. I'm the Executive Director of the Upper Colorado River Commission, which attempts to facilitate the 4 upper division states of Colorado, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Utah. I did have to look at the map. I was just checking, make sure I got the states right. If you all would report back to our chair, Becky Mitchell, that I wore a tie today. I believe I am the only neckwear available here at this meeting. Oh, wait, no, good, all right. Thank you, my friend. All right, so I was taught at a meeting one time by former Secretary of the Interior, Salazar, to figure out who's in the audience. So are you all Coloradans here? Right, how about any Utahns? 2, all right. Team New Mexico's in the back. I see you back there, all right. Any Wyomides? Arizonans? Way to go, nice. You can report back what I'm about to share. Californians? If you're transplanted, don't say. All right, okay, so I got a limited amount of time. I'm supposed to give you all updates on what the commission is doing, and in particular the Colorado River discussions. I did want to reflect on some things that I heard from the previous panel. Gratitude, fatigue, boundaries are resilient. How we manage drought is critical. We need to find out what has worked and what doesn't. And change is coming. I think I'm going to cover all of that. So let's see if I can make this thing work. Hey, look at that. All right. So let's talk about the basin states process between the 7 basin states. This is part, I would refer you to boundaries are resilient, and sometimes they are barriers for discussion. The 7 basin states have been meeting in earnest at a tempo of every 2 weeks or faster since January to meet the timeline for the development of the post-2026 framework for the operation of the Colorado River system. The general timeline, as reported from the reclamation folks, is if there is a consensus alternative to be considered in the NEPA process, it needs to be fleshed out by May of 2025. So a month and a couple of weeks from today. In order, if that happens, that will be analyzed in the EIS process. And once those 4 corners of that consensus framework are developed, there will need, by necessity, layers upon layers of implementation agreements between parties to the agreement, between the upper basin and lower basin, between individual states and water users, and potential legislation. The state of Arizona will require approval by their legislature in the January 2026 session to sign on to a post-2026 agreement. That is a critical path item. Regardless of what the record of decision says, the Arizona legislature will need to consider any agreement that the state signs on to. In addition, if reclamation needs new authorities or funding, or the states need support from Congress, that will need to happen in the winter, early spring session of 2026. The drop dead for this process is really August of 2026, because the operational scheme changes with the beginning of the water year on October 1, 2026 for water year 2027 operations. So we have a real ticking clock problem in this basin right now. So just to make you all aware, folks are working hard. There are significant challenges in the viewpoints and perspectives and solutions, but Becky Mitchell is leading the upper division states. The upper division states are negotiating as a group, and they are a formidable foursome that is bringing a new reality. The facts are what they are, and your four commissioners from the four states are fluent and with those facts and share them. So this illegible slide has the high points of Reclamation's report of alternatives that they are considering in the post-2026 process. This does not include, their report does not include explicit consideration of the upper division states alternative, the lower division states alternative, or any individual alternatives submitted in the scoping process. What they have done is taken components of each of the submitted alternatives and built a series of Franken alternatives that reflect what was submitted. The one thing they have done is identified a federal authority's alternative, which they outline is the one thing they can do without a consensus alternative. The other thing they did in that report was explicitly say that continuation of the existing operating scheme does not meet the purpose and needs and will not be considered. What that means is the system we have today will run the Reclamation's analysis shows will run the system into crisis, pejoratively into the mud with two empty reservoirs in Lake Powell and Lake Mead. So we clearly need change. And they have outlined some pathways to get there, as has done each basin. This slide shows the range of POW releases proposed. I want to focus you not on the totality of the slide, but to the left side where it shows the minimum releases that are being considered from Lake Powell. All of them are attempting to protect the hydropower capacity, the operational capacity of Lake Powell for hydropower and water deliveries. And that is in the vicinity of elevation 3,500, 3,490 is the point at which you no longer have hydropower generation. And then you would have to rely on the river outlet works, which have some challenges. What Reclamation is considering is the minimum releases that they would consider in the post-2026 framework range from 5 million acre feet to 6 million acre feet. That line in the middle at 8.25 is not a proposal, but what the minimum objective release from Reclamation looks like, which is that 8.23 minimum objective release. The point here is Reclamation knows, they're modeling, the data tells us that maintaining a perspective of the upper basin delivering 8.23 million acre feet out of Glen Canyon Dam does not meet the purpose and need. It will run this system into the mud. So we need flexible operating schemes for Glen Canyon Dam that include very low releases when the system gets drier in the future. That's important when we talk about compliance with the 1922 compact and the implementation of the 1948 compact. So, another colorful, hard to read slide. The alternatives report included federal alternatives, which is sort of burnt orangey. A light yellow is simplified federal authorities hybrid. The cooperative conservation alternative is in green. Simplified basin hybrid is in purple. And then what the upper division states considered is in purple, and what the lower division states submitted is in blue. The 4 that are in Reclamation's report are orange through blue, or whatever that purpley color is. The point here is we have projected what the lower basin reductions would be on January 1, 2027, based on these alternatives. That is 18 months from today. What would the lower basin be faced with for reductions using the February inflow forecast to Lake Powell? That forecast hasn't changed in March. It'll probably be worse in April. But I want to flag for you that the federal authorities' alternative shows reductions to the lower basin at 2.5 million acre feet in 2027. The simplified Fed alternative is 2.8 million acre feet of reductions. The cooperative conservation approach is 2.3 million acre feet, and the basin hybrid is 1.8 million acre feet. The lower basin and upper basin approaches result in 1.5 million acre feet on January 1 of reductions to the lower basin based on the current hydrology. What this tells us is without a basin states consensus, the approach the federal government will take has identified they will take, will implement significant reductions to the lower basin because that's what the data says. The lower basin submitted a letter that said, hey, Secretary, welcome. We're really supportive of your work. Throw out the report of the alternatives because we don't think it works. The backstory behind that is clear. There is a significant burden on the lower basin to address the mass balance in this basin. And the alternatives being provided by Reclamation are the vehicle to address that mass balance. So this slide, I just want you to focus on the upper right quadrant. The more dots in the upper right quadrant, the healthier the system. The federal alternatives approach puts 98% of the future outcomes in this basin in the so-called healthy range. No outcomes of dead pool. If you look at limiting the lower basin's reductions to what they have said, which is 1.5 million acre feet, you have almost 20% of the future outcomes in Lake Mead being desperately low, with about 15% of those outcomes at dead pool in Lake Mead. The way this system works to balance the risk is going to require significant reductions in the lower basin above what they have suggested is plausible. So that makes the conversation challenging. I want to leave you with 2 other points. The upper division is different than the lower basin. Absolutely is. You have more than 125,000 individual water right holders, active water rights in the upper basin. They suffer shortage every year at different levels because the water supply isn't there. That hydrologic shortage is a critical component to understanding what the opportunities are for the upper basin to contribute to the health of the system. There are 20,000 points of diversion that are managed across the 4 states. There are 25 points of diversion on the main stem of the lower Colorado River system below Lake Mead. 20,000 in the upper basin, 25 in the lower basin. Upper basin consumes about 4.4 million acre feet on average, including evaporation. The lower basin main stem uses are 9, a little north of 9, delivered through 25 points of diversion. I want to leave you with a final point. Hydrologic shortages happen in the upper basin. They are part of your contribution to the health of the system. You manage your systems within the available water supply. And this is a map showing the distribution of shortages across Colorado and how it changes every year based on the available water supply. This is part of the components that the upper basin is expressing needs to be considered in a future Colorado River agreement, that your water management has to reflect the available water supply, and you do. You manage your systems within that water supply, and shortage changes in location every year. With that, I think I'm out of time. I got like 70 more slides. Are you sure? Okay. And just one other point, if I may. The 1922 compact, people talk about the compact in sort of absolute terms. There is only one absolute from my perspective as a student of compact, 22 compact and 48 compact. The 22 compact provided one thing to the upper basin: a future. A future where you can grow into your water supply if it's available. You adapt, your systems adapt to that changing water supply every year. For someone to come and tell you, you need to shrink, would be antithetical, anathema to what you were promised in 1922. The lower basin has achieved its full use. Some would argue maybe a skosh more. That's a technical hydrologic term. But you all have not. And that is the promise from the 22 compact, and the 48 compact, the Upper Colorado River Compact, provides you a roadmap on how to manage within the available supply and in the event that you get to full use. And with that, thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Sorry we didn't have time for questions. I think he'll be around most of the day, so find him, and he will answer your questions and entertain you at the same time. We are now set for a break at 10:50. Please come back because our first keynote of the day is going to be up here talking about AI water use in agriculture. So, break time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, we're short.